Five Tribes was designed by Bruno Cathala and published by Days of Wonder, and it's a worker placement game set in the land of 1001 Nights in the Sultanate of Nakala, where the old Sultan just died and control is now up for grabs, and the Oracle has just foretold of strangers that who will arrive, maneuver the tribes into position to gain influence over the city-state. Obviously the strangers are you, and it's your job to maneuver the five tribes from Nakala into the right locations to utilize their skills, invoke the old genies, and claim territory to make the Sultanate yours. I was interested in this game as soon as I saw a playthrough of it because this combines a mechanic that I absolutely love, which is worker placement, and it was supposed to provide a twist with it with the addition of something called Mancala, where you grab everything in a certain area and you drop it off of one at a time on a path to where you want to go. So that kind of little sense of twist to it really made me interested in playing it. Does that make the game good? Let's find out. I found the theme of the game of the strangers maneuvering the tribes to gain influence over Nakala to be there to an extent. What I mean by that is that there are a couple of mechanics that I'll get to later that I found can bring the theme out naturally. The one mechanic, which is the bidding, I found had no connection to the theme whatsoever to me. And then there's the Mancala mechanic, which I found can bring the theme out, but it can't really do it on its own. You would have to use your imagination and to really imagine yourself, you are the stranger, and moving everybody around is you instructing the tribes to move through the land and telling them where to stop. But like I said, that's not really Mancala bringing that theme out. That's more of your imagination connecting Mancala to the theme of the game and kind of forcing that connection out. The five tribes, however, I did find to be able to bring some of the theme out naturally because of what each of them does. The only one I couldn't make any connection with was the viziers, but the rest of them actually, it works. The builders, the blue ones, they improve the tiles around you so they get you money. The green ones, being the merchants, they allow you to get resources from the market. The assassins let you remove them from the board or from somebody else. The elders, with their connection to the djinns, allow you to invoke the djinns. I also found the tiles themselves capable of bringing some of the theme out. You stop at a village, you've added more people to the village, so it grows. You stop at a large market, you can buy more resources than a small market because there's more available there. You stop at one of the holy sites and you have elders with you, you can use the elders to invoke the djinns to help you. The only thing that I couldn't connect to with the tiles is why when you stop at an oasis, you suddenly grow a palm tree. Other than that though, I did find some theme here with the tiles and the various tribes naturally. If you wanted to use your imagination, you could make Mancala work. Other than in the bidding, I actually was able to find the theme here to an extent. The components, for the most part, are phenomenal. The tiles and the meeples are of great quality. The artwork is just incredible. I love the way the game looks. There is symbology on the tiles and the cards, but thankfully, it is, for the most part, very easy to understand. If you do have issues with the various djinns' abilities, there is reference sheets that come with the game that you can give to each player that does show exactly what each of the djinns do, which is, I found to be a great aspect. So you don't have to go to the rule book to keep looking them up. You can just look at the back of your reference sheet and just find which djinn you're questioning about. The one thing I do have against the components, though, is that other than the colors of the various tribes, there is no way to tell them apart from each other. So if you are colorblind, you will have some difficulty trying to figure out which tribes belong to which. And even though the game looks very complex and maybe even a bit intimidating to some, the game itself is actually pretty simple because it's divided into just 4 simple steps. The bidding phase, where you basically just bid however many coins you want, which depends on how bad you want to go first. Then the movement of the tribes, where you grab everything from a tile and just drop it along on a path to where you want to go. The color of the last meeple that you place is the action that you do. And then once you do that, you utilize the action of the tile itself that you landed on. And the actions of the tribes and the tiles themselves are actually pretty simple as well. The viziers and the elders, you just simply keep them. The assassins, for each assassin, you can assassinate somebody that many tiles away. For each merchant, you get a card from the market closest to the deck. For the builders, you count all the tiles that are blue around the tile that you're on, and you get that many coins for each builder that's there. The tiles are also pretty easy. If you land on a spot and it has an arrow, put the appropriate piece on. If it lands on a holy site, you can spend 2 elders or an elder and a helper and pick a djinn. If you land on a market, you can buy stuff. I also found that the game scales very well. I've played it with 2, 3, and 4, and I actually have enjoyed it with all the various player counts, which is pretty rare. Usually I'll find a game that's best with maybe 2 players or maybe 3 or 4 players and bad with 2. This is actually one of the rare times where I found a game enjoyable with all the player counts. And speaking of play, the gameplay I found to be phenomenal. There is so much good that I want to talk about here. One is the bidding. I really like the idea of the bidding where you bid to go first, but at the same time you also have found yourself, I found myself thinking multiple times, do I really want to bid this much just so I can have this move here? Is that move worth bidding so much money? Because keep in mind, money is also points in this game. So when you're bidding money, you're essentially giving some points up, hopefully to be able to make those points back. I also like the idea of bidding 0. You can choose to bid 0, save a lot of money that way, but you want to be careful when bidding 0, because if, say for example, if one player bids 3 and then you bid 0 and then everyone else bids 0, you actually get pushed back and you end up going last. So you want to be careful when you decide to bid 0, because the chances of you actually getting pushed further behind are seriously possible. So it makes you also think, is this worth bidding nothing and risking going last, risking my move getting taken just to save a few bucks? Is it worth the risk? The grabbing and the moving of the meeples as well is just so much more than just grabbing everything and just moving it to where you get the one that you want. You want to be very careful of how you place the meeples down, because if you're not careful when you're placing the meeples down along the way, you can actually set up your opponents for an equally as good move as the one that you took, or even a better one that you just took that you basically gave to them. The actions from the various tribes I thought worked very well. I didn't really find anything that was overpowered. The assassins can kill off the meeples, clear some tiles, which allow you to claim land a lot quicker. The elders let you summon the djinns, which gives you special abilities, which I also think work really well. The djinns are also worth points, but if you don't use those elders, they're just simply worth 2 points at the end, and that's it. So it's really worth getting the elders to use for the djinns rather than just simply keeping the elders. The viziers can get you a lot of points if you can manage to get more than other players. You get points for the viziers that you have, plus 10 for each player you have more of. So if you have the most viziers, you can get a lot of points. The builders can get you a lot of points every time you use them, depending on what tiles are nearby. The merchants help get you boosts on your merchandise sets. At first, they may not be worth a whole lot of points, 1 point, 3 points, but as you build your set, if you can get up to say like 6 different resources, you can get a lot of points with that, and the merchants can help you get those resources easier. Going back to the djinns for a minute, I love the idea of the djinns. The idea of being able to collect a card that's worth a certain amount of points on its own, but can also give you a special ability for the rest of the game, especially considering I think that the djinns are actually pretty well balanced. The ones that have small amounts of points on their own have really good abilities, but you can also have the ones that are worth a lot of points, but their powers aren't as great. And that, I think, provides a really good sense of balance to where there isn't really one djinn that once you get that djinn, you've essentially won. But to me, the best part of this game is the idea of the various tiles working with the meeples and how you're trying to maneuver the different characters to utilize the right tile in combination with the character to the best effect. Trying to maneuver the merchants to get to a market so you can get the most resources possible. Trying to maneuver the assassins around so that maybe you can clear her multiple tiles at one time. There are so many ways to utilize the tiles and the tribes in conjunction with one another to produce great results. And because of that, there are so many different strategies that you can pull off. You can try going for as many genies as possible. You can try to hoard all the viziers. You can go for all the merchandise. You can do a combination of several things. You can try to get viziers and try to acquire as much land as possible. You can try to get as much resources and build all the buildings and just keep earning money. You can grab all the gens you can, so that makes it so that basically anytime someone does something, it benefits you. There are so many different strategies that you can go on. I can't even list them all. And because there are so many different strategies that you can do, and because the way the board is set up differently every time, and the way the game plays every single time, this game is replay galore. Overall, I absolutely adore this game. This has been one of my favorite games ever. Just the amount of stuff that's going on, the amount of decisions that you can make, the amount of ways you can play the game, the amount of replay that's there. I have always had a blast playing this. I always have a great time bringing it out. I also found that the game is not just a good game for gamers. I've played this game with gamers. It's worked well there. I've played games of this with my family. They really liked it. If you were looking for a game to play with your family, your friends, or your game group, this is one I would definitely look into. I'm going to give 5 Tribes a 9 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on 5 Tribes. With all that said, I want to know, what are your thoughts on it? Do you like the game? Do you hate it? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to learn my thoughts on other games, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.